Hey guys, thanks for joining me today at Epic Fox Battlegrounds. I wanted to start a new series here because I have a lot of books on many different subjects. And I think one of the great things about wargaming and being a wargamer, if you're truly into the subject matter, you are going to, if you have not already, branched out into research. And a lot of that will include study on the internet, different websites, browsing through as much sources as you can find, as well as books of the subject matter you're interested in. And today I wanted to show you one of my favorite books out of my collection. And this is Seamanship in the Age of Sail. It's an account of the ship handling of the sailing man o' war from the era of 1600 to 1860, and it was by John Harland and illustrated by Mark Myers. And it is a outstanding book. Like I said, it's one of my favorites in the collection, which is why it will be the first part in the series. And I have many other books that I'll be going over from the American Civil War, American War of Independence, different Napoleonics books, with a wide variety of topics that they will be focusing on, and not just, the battles themselves. Some of them will be more focused on the political side, or what effect it had after the war was over. uh, Other events that the war or particular battles may have led to. All sorts of information in these books. I am just a big time reader. I would rather read a book or report online as opposed to watch a show. But you don't always have time for them. So I am also big into audiobooks as well. But more of those are more of, the narrative stories basically that I listen to on audio, not so much the factual accounts of things. But back down to the book at hand, Seamanship in the Age of Sail. Now, this book is going to cover a wide variety of topics here, but you can see right from the get, when you open it up, has a wonderful inside cover illustration of what looks like a three-masted sloop of war. And you will have your blank title page here again, and your table of contents. There is the acknowledgments section, the introduction. I'll just briefly give you an overview of what this contains, and it is very well illustrated, by the way. Some seamanship books can be very confusing, and you may get them hoping to shed some light on some things that you may have question about, when a lot of those books will leave you even more confused. They don't really illustrate examples too well as to what everything does, but this does a very good job of it. Chapter one will be some words and phrases used in ship handling under sail. Chapter two will be all about mast, rigging, and sails, and that's going to include your masts, your yards, standing rigging, running rigging, and sails and their gear. Chapter 3 will go into the development of the sail plan between 1580 and 1900. And chapter 4, you will get into some theoretical principles underlying ship handling, which includes mathematical principles, some theoretical centers and axes and their relationships, form of the hull and stability, action of the wind on the sails, trimming the sails, geometric problems with the rigging, and working of the rudder. Chapter 5 will cover sails considered individually and the courses involved with those. And Chapter 6 will be the organization of crew for handling the ship, duties allotted to the different parts of the ship, sail drill, and working the ship. Chapter 7 will be bending, loosing, and furling sails, bending square sail, unbending square sail, bending fore and aft canvas, loosing sails to dry, furling square sails, loosing fore and aft sails, furling fore and aft sails, shifting sails, sending light yards up and down, shifting topsail yards, striking and shifting topmasts, striking lower yards, squaring, cockbilling, and manning the yards. Chapter 8 will be covering making and shortening sail at sea, and that covers ordering and making and shortening of sail, like I just said, shortening sail in bad weather, handling the individual sails, disposition of crew for making and shortening sails, and the commands involved in all the above. Chapter 9, Reefing, Methods of Reefing, 1600 to 1900, Other Gear Used in Reefing, Techniques of Reefing. And then Chapter 10 will be all about studding sails, evolution, wind and weather, studding sails on different points of sail, the sails themselves, other gear used when studding sails, terminology, English and otherwise, studding sails, the commands involved in that, and the disposition of crew for handling studding sails. Chapter 11 will be all about steering, and then it goes into Chapter 12, which is tacking, wearing, and box hauling, which if you're into books such as Master and Commander series, the Aubrey Martin series, this will be a treasure box of information on tacking, wearing, and box hauling. It'll really help you understand the narrative and what's going on. And that will cover box hauling, wearing or veering of a ship, organization of the crew for working a ship, to tack a ship, and club hauling. Chapter 13 will be working ship in a tideway. Chapter 14 will be towing and warping. Chapter 15 is storms, preparation, scudding, and lying to. Chapter 16 is squalls. Chapter 17 is heaving to. And Chapter 18 is the ship at anchor, general preparations for entering harbor and anchoring, the mechanics of casting anchor, various methods of coming to anchor, management of the ship at a single anchor, and mooring, as well as general preparations for going to sea, weighing the anchor, catting, fishing, and stowing the anchor, heavy in, getting underway from single anchor, laying out the anchor. Chapter 19 will be shifting heavy weights while on board. Chapter 20 will be lowering and hoisting in hoisting in boats. Chapter 21 will be man overboard. Chapter 22 is accidents. Accidents in running rigging, accidents to standing rigging, accidents to the mast and spars, accidents to wheel and rudder, leaks, running aground, and fires. And then you'll have a bibliography as well as an index. So you can see it just covers just a tremendous amount of information. Here's the author's acknowledgments when it's going to be starting off with. And this book is founded on material collected over more than 20 years, together with conversations and correspondence with individuals for about the same period. Some of these communications were made so long ago that the people concerned may have long forgotten being quizzed on some obscure point. Photocopies of many of the rare items in the bibliography were secured primarily from the Mariners Museum, Newport News, Stockholm, Marians, Biblioteket, Copenhagen, just tremendous amount of sources. It also goes through special thanks, whether it's U.S. Naval Academy, Halifax, Ontario Maritime Museum, just a wide variety of information here. And then you'll go into the introduction. The popularity of the sea romances by C.S. Forester, Dudley Pope, Alexander Kent, Patrick O'Brien, and so on indicate that many people are fascinated by the story of wooden walls and the men who sailed them. Reading these tales may prompt one to wonder about the exact manner in which things were managed aboard the old sailing man of war. How exactly was the anchor weighed? How was the sail trimmed to best advantage? How did one have to? And so on. And for me, that was one of the things, one of the reasons why I picked up so many Age of Sail books was because specifically the Aubrey Martin series, I'm just fascinated by. I've listened to the complete series on audiobook. I've been through the whole series a total of 3 times now, and probably next year I'll make it a 4th time. But that's not the only reason. I also do, if you've seen some of my other videos, the Sails of Glory, the amount of Sails of Glory I have obviously display my interest in the subject matter. And you haven't seen me do any miniature videos on the subject yet, but I also build model ships at the 1 to 100 scale, which is the 15mm scale for the war games. And I have not done this yet, but I intend to fully rig some of them. And that also required me to branch out and kind of get as much information as I could on the subject matter to be as accurate as I could. Hopefully, after I move into my new house here next month, I will have the time to do it. So then the chapter 1 is, words and phrases used in ship handling under sail. And it tells you basically the wind direction. All these illustrations are going to be very similar. It'll have the wind direction listed as well as the facing of the boat itself. And then you have down here in the lower left, you have another graph with the points of the compass, whether it's northeast by west, northeast by northwest, or yeah, that would be impossible. But you get the gist here. The mariner's compass has 32 points, and it was designed in 1724. Then you have a explanation of the different directions: the wind side, the weather side, the lee side, a beam on the quarter, fine on the quarter, astern, ahead, fine on the box or on the box. And you just go through a tremendous amount of information. What you have here is this is one of my favorite illustrations because it will tell you what the name of every sail on the ship is. And it tells you in English, Dutch, German, Swedish, Danish, French, Italian, or Spanish. So, like I said, it's tremendous amount of sales and information in this, or not sales, but just information, including information on the sales. But here you have the flying jib, the foretopmast staysail, the spritsail, topsail, the spritsail, the foreroyal, the foretopgallant sail, the foretopsail, the forecourse or foresail, main topgallant staysail, middle staysail, main topmast staysail, main staysail, main royal, main topgallant sail, main topsail, main course or mainsail, the mizzen topgallant staysail, the mizzen topmast staysail, the mizzen staysail, the mizzen topgallant sail, and the mizzen topsail, as well as the mizzen sail itself. So, if you've ever read any of those books that I was telling you about, I mean, there's so many different sails that if you don't know what they're talking about, you're kind of lost and you're kind of left. And some of them, obviously, the top sail, stuff like that, you can get the gist of what exactly, Commander Aubrey may be talking or Captain Aubrey may be talking about. But, you know, there's so many different instances where you won't know what he's talking about. That this to me is the best book. This is the only, and I own several, but this book does the best in creating a layout and a diagram in a very clear and concise manner to where you know exactly what they're talking about. And like I said, this has 8 different languages that all of this information is about. So, and you have not only illustrations, but you have real pictures down here in the lower left of ships. And then you have very detailed information about different things. There's a standing platform on one of the masts, just so much different information in here. You have very detailed charts about the masts themselves and the rigging and sails. And then further information here, like the bowsprit, everything is in here. I mean, everything you could hope for in an Age of Sail book, this is it. And then you get into further detail of the rigging and the minor details of it, major details, the obscure details. I mean, it's just an outstanding book. Here you have, how the crew would be on their footholds on one of the yards, performing their duties, whether it be dropping the sails, whatever they may be doing. And you have definitions, whole wide explanation of running rigging, and there's just tremendous amount of information. I can't stress that enough. If you are into the Age of Sail and you've been looking for that one book that's going to contain most of the information you need, I truly believe this is going to be the book for you. It just goes on and on. It even has polar diagrams in here, different methods that they use for navigation, organization of crew and ship handling. I'm just grabbing, fingerful of pages and flipping through here, but has the watches and the parts of the ship. And we can go on and on with all the information contained in this book. I don't want to give too much of away because I truly do believe that you should buy this book, but the amount of detail and the clarity of all the explanations contained herein is just, it's worth it. I think this book would cost you about $70. It's a hardcover book and it's worth every penny. Uh, you can just see here, you have the commands. Uh, this is about studying sails right here, all this stuff, all this information right here. But and everything, every explanation comes along with a detailed diagram. This is about wearing short round here into the wind. Uh, not and box hauling over here on the left, the definitions of it. So when you hear these terms, if you are interested, like I said, in those narration books, like Master and Commander, everything will make so much more sense if you have a book like this to go ahead and continue on. It'll also help you if you are interested in, flying color series or wooden ships and iron men, and you know what the rule of tacking means, and it gives you a brief explanation, but nothing can really uh, clarify just how difficult it was to do when you, especially when you're in a combat situation. And this really clarifies a lot of things, explains how difficult certain maneuvers were and just how dangerous they could be. um, One of my favorite sections in here is, if I can find it here, is during the storms when you have ships laid over like this, just on their side nearly, and the methods that the sailors use to right them back up or to keep it stable at such a severe angle. Um, it is really just an amazing book. If you're into the Age of Sail, I would highly recommend this piece of work. It is an outstanding source for all things Age of Sail, and it is a wonderful book to add to your collection if you are into this topic. And we can go on here. I was looking for some specific information, but you can see here, I mean, on every page, there's diagrams, there's charts above head from the side. There's just so much detail in this book. There's, you know, crew stations and how they man, even how they, man the anchor. This is windlasses. We can go on. I could sit here and talk forever about this book, but I do want to keep these series short. And also, like I said, I don't want to display every page on here. I'm here to praise the book and hopefully, for the author, hopefully make a couple sales for him. Not sales, win sales, but sales as in monetary sales. So hopefully, um, it even has shifting heavyweights, like I said, in the table of contents. But this shows you some of the rigging, the pulley systems that they used to move cannon, move cargo from one side to another, or to load it onto the ship or off the ship, lowering and hoisting the boats uh, in and out. Some of these boats that these larger man of wars carried were ships in their own right, and it tells you how they handled those. Here's a diagram of them lowering and raising the boats. This is raising the boat into the ship. And here's man overboard, the safety equipment that they used during those times. And on we go. I think one of these sections, here we go into accidents. These are sails getting tangled, everything else that you can think of. Anything that's probably happened on the ship has been recorded into this book, apparently. Accidents to the wheel and rudder. And we can go on. I was hoping to see, like I said, some of the storms. Here we go. I think we're getting into there. And there's HMS Bombay on fire after engraving in the Illustrated London News in 1865. So that was an actual engraving that was in the London News during that time, 1865. And HMS Fizgard struck by lightning after engraving in the Illustrated London News, 1847. The ship was fitted with a lightning conductor and suffered no damage from the bolt. So it tells the scientific advances that the Admiralty and the Royal Navy went through, as well as many other nations. But then we're going to get into the index here, and apparently I'm not going to come across the illustrations that I was hoping to, but that's okay, because if you are into this book or into this subject matter, and you just saw the things that were in this book, you're probably going to be quite impressed. I would hope that you go out and purchase this. Like I said, I can't stress this enough. This book is amazing for model ship builders, war gamers of the Age of Sail, or like I said before a couple different times, anybody who is interested in those novels of the Age of Sail. You are going to find this a priceless resource. And the artwork in it is, you see this cover page, I think that's just a beautiful piece of work. And the entire book is filled with illustrations like this, very detailed diagrams like you saw yourself. So, Seamanship in the Age of Sail, an account of the ship handling of the sailing man of war 16 to 1860. And that's it. The next book I do will probably be about the ACW. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking this out. And until next time, stay safe.